Bees, flowers, and music, huh? Might as well call this banner a picnic during summer, am I right? Although that would be a messed up picnic if you think about it. Because the music is made with people, the bees are parasitic, and the flowers are alive and currently attempting to murder you, but hey, you know, at least the food is good, right? What do you mean it's made out of bug guts? Let's get this show on the road and talk about Harmony Sinclair. This E.G.O is very good. It deals huge damage off rip, and it deals even more damage as you lose your HP. But this comes at the price of it not clashing super well unless you have a good amount of burn or bleed on the main target. When clashing, it can roll up to a 22, and when performing the attack, it can roll up to a 20 through reuses if all coins hit heads. Now, some of you probably heard hits heads and got flashbacks to a certain Ishmael E.G.O, but alas, this one has several saving graces. Firstly, the reuses take HP, not sanity. Second, the E.G.O only costs 10 sanity, then drains 8 for 2 turns afterwards, meaning the actual use of the E.G.O will leave you at 35 sanity. So you have a solid 85% chance to hit heads with each coin, which is not bad at all. Plus, on top of all this, it has some decent potency infliction. When all reuses activate, it inflicts 7 burn and 7 bleed. Oh yeah, to circle around to that sanity drain, you see, with his E.G.O passive, when he loses sanity, he regains sanity. At minimum, he gets 4, at maximum, he gets 10. So, basically, that 8 sanity drain, at worst it's more like 4, and at best it's actually gonna give him 2 sanity, which is kinda bonkers in my opinion. And also, along with that, he gives team sanity healing based on resonance, which is very nice. Then we got the corrosion, which is much of the same, but I felt it was important to mention that he gives Wrath, Lust, and Envy damage up, which is a solid DPS boost at the cost of some fragile. Alongside all this, he gives himself and teammates the Rhythm effect, which is a tad underwhelming, I've gotta be honest. The rhythm gained from his passive only gives him 4% more damage and 2 offense level, which is just short of allowing him to actually clash better. And the rhythm gained from using the E.G.O is randomly distributed between the team and random amounts between 1 and 3. So your value from this is kinda small without some good luck. Well, this is assuming you don't get the full team rhythm from getting a kill, because you see, on most fights that are actually hard enough to require using E.G.O, there's not really peon enemies just laying around for you to kill. Meaning 9 times out of 10, when you're using this, you're not gonna get this conditional to activate. Also, generally rhythm just kinda sucks because it only lasts 1 turn, so for this effect to have any amount of sway on the flow of combat, you either need future sight or intimate game knowledge. But other than that, this E.G.O is insane on basically any team. It shines on burn and bleed, but it can be used anywhere, especially considering this is Sinclair's only good He tier E.G.O. Side note, Project Moon, I'm begging you, give Sinclair more E.G.O, he needs it so bad. With the E.G.O itself covered, let's talk about some synergies with IDs. Starting small, we've got Rooster Sinclair, who deals more damage as he loses HP, and this E.G.O drains HP. A small but effective synergy. Or it would be if Rooster wasn't a terrible ID, but that's neither here nor there. On to the more interesting and powerful synergy, Dawn Office Sinclair. This ID is one that you either love or hate because it's very strong, but incredibly inconsistent due to his baked-in sanity drain. This E.G.O's passive gives him sanity regen whenever he loses sanity, basically helping stabilize him and keep his major DPS going for longer. And that's about it for our musical murderer. If you want a quick summary, go get it ASAP, it's really good. Up next on the agenda, we got Hornet Meursault, my personal favorite ID from this Walp. He is a bleed burn ID that is 90% burn, 10% bleed. He is an ammo-based unit that uses spore rounds as well as buckshot rounds. These bullets build up spore on the opponent, which is a special status that gives the afflicted enemy burn count every turn, as well as allowing his skills to deal more damage. And with how much he shoots and how much spore he inflicts, he'll usually max out his spore count in 2 or 3 turns. His main draw is his built-in, unconditional attack weight. His skill 2 and skill 3 both hit multiple people from the moment he walks onto the field, giving burn teams some easy access to AoE. But alongside that, he also has some solid rolls for his skills, rolling a 12, 16, and 16 without coin power, which is a little meh. But with coin power, he rolls a respectable 16, 19, and a 28. This would be an issue, but you see, Burn is the easiest status to stack ever, so basically all his conditionals will be fulfilled by like turn 2 or 3 max. But we haven't even covered the best part. Once he has built up his Burn and Spore stack on an enemy, if he uses his skill 3, the final coin will do a huge Burn nuke, multiplying his Burn stack by his Spore stack, which can go up to 99 times 15, which is absolutely nuts. This can deal a total of 1,485 damage, which is huge. So much damage and... Wait, what? What do you mean the total is divided by 10? Wait, let me get this straight. Index Yi-Sang can get a 9-coin skill 3-2 that one-shots the hardest bosses in the game. But you can't give this Walpurgis ID a functioning Burn nuke. Are we actually serious? Okay. Well, at least you can get a bonus 148 damage, I guess. And his general DPS isn't bad at all. But look, maybe loyalty pheromones can give this ID a nice boost. With it, his skill 2 and 3 become unbreakable and can gain up to 2 clash power, which would make his rolls look like this during clashing, as well as some haste and protection. And on top of this, his skill 3 gains some extra attack weight, which transfers into extra damage during single enemy fights, which is super useful. Man, I wonder how you get loyalty pheromones. Let's just take a look and... Oh, you need to kill an enemy that has Spore on them. You are telling me that they cap a huge chunk of his conditionals behind loyalty pheromones, which you cannot get during most boss fights. You know, I didn't even want that extra attack weight and damage on the skill 3. Who needs that? I certainly don't. Well, okay, you know, it's fine if he doesn't have access to his conditionals during bosses and his Burn nuke is incredibly neutered. It's fine. At least we can substitute that nuke damage with Tremor Scorch. Wait a second, who's the best Tremor Scorch ID in the game again? Well, in that case, I guess we can't substitute that Burn nuke with Tremor Scorch. But, at least Hornet rolls good, and he never runs out of ammo since he's constantly reloading, so he's never out of commission. And he can clear chain battles really fast due to his attack weight, so that's a nice perk. I've been very negative so far, but I do stand by him being my favorite of the bunch despite all that. He's very fun to use, he's really cool, and I'm also biased because I love Queen Bee's E.G.O gear, and Meursault quick-swapping his rifle into a shotgun on the skill 3 makes the dopamine in my brain skyrocket. Now let's talk about some E.G.O synergies. We got good old-fashioned Regret, which increases his coin power by 2. This makes his rolls with conditionals go from this to this. But then again, every Meursault ID synergizes with Regret really well, so let's talk about something more interesting. Yi-Sang's newest E.G.O, Great Trichiliacosm, synergizes very well with Hornet Meursault, as his skill 3's wannabe Burn nuke actually counts as activating Burn, meaning Yi-Sang's special status, Shattered Worlds, gives it a 1.2 times multiplier, making that 148 damage become 178, which isn't much better, but hey, extra damage is extra damage. Overall, he's not bad. In fact, he's above average, but by Walpurgisnacht standards, that's sorta disappointing. Get him if you want him. But enough about bees. I saved the best for last. Faint Aroma and Solitude Ryoshu. Where do I even start with this beast of an ID? Well, how about her skills? She's got the average skill 1, skill 2, and skill 3, which roll these numbers respectively. But she's also got 3 follow-ups. When attacking an enemy below 40 sanity, or staggering one, she follows up with the skill 1, which is some nice extra damage and spends ammo. Up next is Stories That Never Cease, which procs when she reloads, starts at 9 base power, and can reach up to 12 with 3 whole coins. Keep in mind, this is just free unblockable damage that she lobs out whenever she reloads. Then we got her skill 3-2, which she uses as an unopposed attack when she reaches maximum petals, and wow does it pack a solid punch. I mean, for a free move you get to use just for having enough petals on yourself, 100 plus damage is very solid. All this sounds great, but it begs the question, how often does she do these? Well, she does her follow-up skill 1 basically every turn as long as you have the enemy at negative 40 sanity, or if any ally can stagger an opponent. After that, there's stories that never cease. Reloading happens pretty often since she only has 6 bullets. Her skill 1 takes 2 ammo, and since she basically uses her skill 1 every turn, that's a minimum of 1 stories every 3 turns, assuming you keep a good sinking stack, which, trust me, is not hard. And she uses stories even more often if you're spending ammo with your basic attacks. After that, we've got her skill 3-2, Magnificent End, which she uses rather frequently as well. So pretty often, she'll just do 4 attacks per turn. And in case you don't believe me, here's a clip of her doing just that. Now all this is great, but what about her sinking infliction? So much of her kit and follow-ups rely on sinking, so if it's bad, then that's a problem, right? Well, you see, funny thing is, she's almost entirely count neutral. Her only attacks that drain count are her follow-ups, which go -2 for stories, and -1 for Magnificent End. But the thing is, stories inflict Solitude, a status effect that makes the enemy gain 2 sinking count per turn. So basically, stories' negative count is almost instantly made up for. There's no compensation for Magnificent End, but also it's literally only 1 count. You probably won't even notice it. So to fully lay this out, Faint Aroma can do 4 attacks in 1 turn. She is almost fully count neutral, so she won't destroy your stack while doing so. And she has overall good rolls? Man, there's no way this unit gets any better, right? Oh boy! She is also a really good tremor unit. Yeah, I've been focusing on sinking, but let me tell you, she's got some dang good potency infliction, alright count, and she has a lot of tremor bursts. She can do 2 tremor bursts with stories, and she can do 1 with Magnificent End. And her skill 3 has a tremor burst. And if she maxes out Faint Aroma on a target, that's another tremor burst. And to top it off, Faint Aroma is incredibly easy to build. She inflicts it with attacks, she inflicts it to enemies whenever a tremor burst happens, she inflicts it whenever an enemy takes sinking damage, so trust me, there's no shortage of Faint Aroma to go around. Like, I'm not even sure what else to say. She just does absolutely monstrous damage, has like 0 downsides, plus I didn't even mention the fact that she has self-sanity and HP healing baked into her kit. Easily a new sinking and tremor staple, without any doubt. Now let's talk E.G.O synergies. Ryoshu doesn't have many status-tailored E.G.Os, but there are a few, including a specific Zayn tier. One that came out so very long ago and was forgotten to time. Say hello to Soda Ryoshu! This E.G.O isn't great, I've gotta be honest, but its passive can be useful. Sometimes. That's it though. I'm only mentioning it because it's really funny that this came out way back in Season 2, and just now, during Season 7, we get the first ever Ryoshu sinking ID, and this E.G.O is still pretty useless. Now, this next one is sorta grasping at straws, but Great Trichiliacosm can be useful here for dealing extra damage through Entangled Life. Sure, it's only 10% extra damage at max, but with how many follow-up attacks she can do, building it up is pretty efficient, and over a long fight, that 10% can really add up. All in all, I would say Ryoshu is a pretty dang good unit, and probably the highlight of the banner. Very much a must-pull. Get her as soon as you can. With that, we're done! Here's my Season 7 tier list so far. Nothing's beat Yisang yet, but we still have a lot of season ahead of us. Hope you enjoyed the review and maybe even learned something. Subscribe and leave a like for good luck on all your future Walpurgisnacht pulls. See you later!